Hey guys, this is Landon Huber. Thanks for coming by to watch another episode of Drawing on Fridays, the Landon Huber Experience Show. This one's going to be a little bit of a weird episode because unfortunately, about 7.5 minutes in, my camera card was full. And so the camera shut off and didn't record the whole drawing process I wanted to show. But I did get the audio recorded though, and I talked about some interesting things, so I thought it'd be a good workaround to show clips of the inking process, which I haven't been showing, to sort of fill in the time. And again, it's my answer to how to come up with a full episode when the camera shut off. So anyway, because I was talking about some things that I thought were pretty interesting, I decided to go ahead and use that audio that I recorded and mix in some cool footage of showing some of the inking process of the artwork. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Enough jibber jabber, and let's get started with this weird episode of Drawing on Fridays, the Landon Huber Experience. Hope you enjoy. Hey guys, welcome to yet another episode of Drawing on Fridays, the Landon Huber Experience Show. Thanks for joining me today. And what do we have here? It is a Halloween picture of sorts of the skeleton sort of creeping over some big old giant pumpkins. Jack-o'-lanterns, I guess, if you want to be specific, since they have faces on them. If you look closely at this piece, I don't remember the exact episode, but it was maybe episode 8 or somewhere in there. I'll leave the link in the description below to the original episode wherein I originally drew this picture. This is a finishing episode. So what I'm going to be doing is taking it from this level right here of a rough drawing and just going in there and finessing it a bit and fine-tuning the shapes some more so that it all comes together and gets prepared for inking. Now, I do the inking off camera because I do like to take my time with it and even experiment, and it's not something I do and bang out in a half hour. So I take my time with the inking because that's the final step before coloring. But in this half-hour episode, you'll see that happen here. This rough drawing become more finalized. Now, if you look closely at this one, you'll see, and if you compare it to the original episode, you'll see that his face here has been redrawn. Because I wasn't all that happy with the way I did it in the first episode. So it's kind of cool you get to see that the drawing of the original face, but if you do look closely, I have actually redrawn his face here to something that I like more. It has a little bit more of a... It's one of those things you can't really put your word on, but it just has a little bit better feeling to me and a little bit more classic of what I was going for with this picture. And sometimes you do need to redraw things in order for it to get correct. So anyway, let me set my timer. Set timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes, starting now.
And let's begin. So, yeah, here we go. So hopefully you guys had a good Christmas and a good New Year's. Um, yeah. Yeah, hopefully Santa might have come by your house, and even if he didn't, or even if he was broke this year. Does Santa Claus use money? That's what my parents used to say. Santa Claus doesn't have money this year. When I was a kid. I guess it depended on the year. Some years were better than others, but it has to do with a lot of other variables, which you don't understand when you're a kid, but as the old adult, you do. For these vines, I think I want to add a little bit more detail in there. And believe it or not, I certainly don't always just bang things out in a half hour, you know. I have to push myself to be able to do that in these episodes. And sometimes the half hour goes by and I still want to keep working on it. But, you know, you guys don't have all day to watch some dude drawing pictures on the internet. So maybe some of you do. And if you do, cool. Thank you for watching. There's something I do want to do more, because I do tout the importance of imagination when you're drawing. And I do think that is important. But I don't believe that it's wrong to use photo reference. Just so long as you do something artistic with it. If you just copy a photo exactly, then I have to say I don't really think you're creating artwork there. But even great artists like, you know, several illustrators from the past, like Norman Rockwell, for instance. I remember when I was younger, I saw a book of Norman Rockwell. It was this big book my parents bought one year. I don't know if it was a Christmas present to me or to the family. But man, I loved that book. It was amazing. You got to see the best. I think it was a big old book with big, you know, pages, and it was like the best of Norman Rockwell. And I just spent days looking at that thing. And I just thought it was amazing. And, you know, I was just a kid at the time, or very young, you know, maybe 12 years old. But I remember thinking I would like to be like Norman Rockwell one day, you know. I want to leave a legacy like his in the world. And but how many people actually are able to do that, you know? It's not an easy thing. And but he did leave a legacy in the world, and it may sound strange coming from me, speaking about Norman Rockwell like this, because my art is so different and my subject matter is so different. But I am a person that can appreciate many forms of art, and certainly Norman Rockwell's is one that I can appreciate. But anyway, getting back to my original sort of point, he used photo reference. And But he didn't slavishly stick to the photo. He used it to compose what he needed from it to get correct in his pictures, what he needed to get correct. Because painting all that Americana style stuff just from imagination would probably be impossible without any kind of reference material. But he did something artistic with it. He did something, and I think Frazetta does the same thing, where it's more than reality. It's a better heightened version of reality, to where it's a form of realism. The art style, however, it's not strictly just trying to look like a photograph. They are paintings, but they are more than real, if that makes sense. And to me, that's probably the best. That's what makes art worth looking at. That's what makes it so amazing to look at art, Not to bash photographers, there's definitely an art to photography for sure. But that's kind of, in my mind, what separates photography from art or illustration. So yeah, that's my spiel. If any of you young kids never heard of Norman Rockwell, and if you like illustration and art and interesting things, take a look at Norman Rockwell. It'll be worth your time. Very inspiring. There's people that came before that will be an inspiration to me for the rest of my life. People that are, that passed away a long time ago. Another person that I'm a huge fan of artistically is Hieronymus Bosch. And not much is known about him, and that's an interesting thing too. It's like, oh, you got nothing, but it's a mystery, Who was this guy? And even though not everything is known about people like Michelangelo or people like Leonardo and those other Renaissance painters, many things, much more is known about them than known about Hieronymus Bosch, which much more is just not known about him. But man, if you look at and there isn't what I would call a big plethora of paintings that survived. I mean, we're talking over 500 years ago. But the ones that did, the very special ones that are famous, are really amazing. And I have not yet gone to see the Garden of Earthly Delights painting in the flesh, but that's on my bucket list. So. Okay, so you can see I'm kind of going in there and just adding little shadows, little details, fine-tuning the line art. you know, you got to do it. You got to do it. Take the time to make this thing pop, as it were. Which, now another side trip I'll go on. So what makes something pop? Another art theory, secret, or what have you. Things pop based on the contrast of value. So if you have, say, things that are of the same, too similar in value, meaning how light or dark they are, it's not going to quote unquote pop. And what pops the most is something that is diametrically on the opposite side of the scale of the value spectrum, white and black. So hard black on hard white pops the most. And that same thing applies to whatever the value is, in all the, millions of variations of the gray area in between, and the subtle differences. And when you look at and you stand back and look at your art, this is something I had to learn, guys. Nobody I did not go to like a big art school, and was not taught these things in a classroom environment. I did take some art classes, but they didn't teach me all this stuff. I had to learn it myself. And yeah, anyway, what was I saying? So if you want something to pop, you need to add more value contrast to that area, and then the eye will be focused more on that area. And then by where the little areas of contrast are and how you organize them within your picture is how your eye flow will go in the picture. The flow of your eye. Where does your eye go to first? Where does it kind of float to second? I like to sometimes relax my eyes, and if they can float comfortably around the image without getting sort of muddled up too much in one area. And that I'll spend hours sometimes messing with that. It's an advanced thing, I guess I'm talking about, without sounding too much like my pinkies are out. Is the aspect of art which has to do with movement and so on across the image. But but it's almost also like one of those things that people that aren't aware of that aspect they're not aware of it. But they would subconsciously pick up on it if they saw a piece of art that they like, and they're like, oh man, I really like that one. Maybe they don't know why they like it, but that could be one of the reasons. It's like that artist has put effort into where his contrasts are heavier or lighter, and shape and all those other aspects that go into a piece of art. They've thought about those things, whether consciously or unconsciously, and that's why the art works or doesn't work, And there can be other things that can either make it work or not too. That there's so many things that it's like it's almost impossible to get them all perfect. And another lesson I've been having to learn on my art journey is to let go of the pretense of perfection. And I was listening to the Jasmine podcast, and they said on there that the art museums are filled with perfect art that nobody gives a crap about because it's not interesting, you know. And that's for some reason that hearing that kind of clicked in my brain. Yeah, that's true. When something is too perfect, it's not interesting anymore. I've on some pieces perfected out the energy, gotten rid of it because I was like, well, I want to make it perfect. And then I made it as perfect as I could, and it wasn't as good as it was before. So it's kind of like it's that last 10% of making those final decisions that is one of the most important things to creating the art. There's a lot in the beginning stages of thinking that's required too, and setting it up. And then there's what you might call grunt work, which is just putting in the bricks and mortar, just building it. But that last 10% is probably the most important, to not glaze over, because that's the finishing touches. And even though time is not important, in a way it is important, because you don't want to shortcut the chance you have at making the piece better by not putting in the time necessary. But by the same token, you don't want to overwork it either and ruin the energy in the piece. So, the middle way is what it's about. It's like a Buddhist philosophy. Everything in life is like a balancing act, you know. And that's something sometimes I might come across as though I have mastered all of these things, but actually what I'm doing is just sort of free form thinking in my brain, and I'm applying the same principles that pop up to myself as I say in these videos. I'm not gonna draw any detail in that moon. I do that in a lot of these pieces, and let's try something a little different and just leave this moon simple. That's another thing. You get to the point where you purposely choose to leave something simple. That means you're not just putting in detail for the detail's sake. That means you're choosing where you want the detail. And It's like a step up of advancement in your thinking, you know. So let's see where the clock is at. And I have no idea. Oh, we still got about 9 minutes left. We're doing pretty good time-wise, guys. Awesome. In my mind, it's already been like about 2 hours. And I haven't really been rushing with this piece, you know. I've just been flowing with it. So, you don't always have to sit there and rush when you just relax and let your imagination take over. That's the best. That's what makes art fun, guys. That's what makes it fun. Is AI art fun? Fun. Is it fine? Is it fun? I'm gonna chime in here. I can't control what's going on in the world, but I have to say I don't like it. If you like it, well, nothing I say here is going to convince you not to like it. And I'm not going to waste energy trying to convince you of anything. So, but to say that it is a worrisome thing as far as people who make a living with their art and rely on it for income, it's a troubling thing. The developers of AI art either didn't care or they about the working artists, which is, I'm pretty sure they weren't sitting there worried about that when they were developing the AI art programs, or they just weren't worried about it, you know. Now on the flip side, I do have to say that I personally find it to be copyright infringement if you're using an AI program to, and then telling the AI to do something in a particular artist's style. I do find that to be copyright infringement. Everything I'm saying right now is my personal opinion. You can take it or leave it, disagree, agree, whatever, but I'm just speaking my mind. You know, people, working human beings, have spent a lifetime acquiring the skills to create art. They've put in their blood, sweat, and tears. And I think it's wrong for somebody to just, you know, especially to try to copyright or capitalize on something that, for instance, they say you go into an AI program, and whether the artists are living and dead, you know, I still feel the same way. Especially if they're living. And you put in, I want such and such and such, like say somebody puts, I want such and such pumpkin skeleton in the style of such and such person, and then the AI program spits something out, and then you slap that on as the cover of something that you're trying to sell, I personally think that is copyright infringement right there. Because the AI is going to search the internet, and then it's going to sit there and study that artist that you've told, because it just uses the keywords to search it. And then it's going to steal all of the things that it can detect using its little AI brain, its little unevolved computer, uncaring AI brain. And then it's going to spit something out, some image out, and then you're going to use it on the cover of your book or whatever, and it didn't require any work or effort on your part besides just typing that in, whatever it was that you imagined into the keywords. And I have to say, I didn't plan on going down this AI route in this episode, so I'm not going to elaborate much further. But I kind of I'm on the side of feeling that that's not right, and I don't like it, and well, it doesn't seem to be much I can personally do about it. So I'm just spouting my opinion here. Take it or leave it. I'm coming from the side of a person who actually does work hard to make art, and I'll say this. I don't believe AI art is going to have the same human connection that real, true, human-made art has. An AI program may give you something, but it's not going to give you a true Sargent or a true Leonardo da Vinci or a true anything. Because it is just a computer. It's just a matrix program, and there are differences. And I don't think an AI can truly love the same way a human being can. Art is a creative act. However, though, that thought just made me think of the movie AI, which I actually did like the movie. I wish I could have seen, because it was originally envisioned by Kubrick and then finished by Spielberg, as many people know. But man, I would have really wished I could have seen Kubrick's version. Some people like that movie, some people don't. I like it because I think it's a deep philosophical film, concept-wise. I mean, Spielberg did his thing with it, and I thought it was a interesting movie, to say the least. And all I can do is say, I wonder what Kubrick would have done, Because Kubrick, in my mind, is hands down one of the greatest filmmakers that ever lived on this earth. I mean, that's... Oh, man. Shoot. But on that note, I'm going to call it a show. There it is. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Stay tuned. Coming up next are the final inks. And Have a good new year. Bye, guys.